there, Dr. Bill Crawford here, psychologist, speaker, author of 8 books, host of 2 PBS specials, here again to bring you another tip on how to help you create the life you want. Specifically, how to use my life from the top of the mind philosophy to bring more clarity, confidence, creativity into everything you do. Today I want to talk about the subject of core values. That is a very popular subject as I go around doing trainings around the world. Core values is something that people talk about. What are our core values? Does everybody agree with them? And I'm really not saying that core values are wrong, even though the title of this video is The Problem with Core Values. The problem with core values is sometimes they represent just the ideas of the leadership. You know, leadership gets together and they say, hey, we want to create some core values about our organization, and they create them and they roll them out to the organization. But often people in the organization will go, well, okay, well, those are your values. I didn't have any say in that, and may not really resonate with those particular values. Or, worst case scenario, they can be seen as like a marketing effort. For those of you who remember the organization Enron, who went bankrupt and their leaders went to jail for fraud, they had their core values proudly displayed in the lobby. So when core values are a marketing effort, when they're designed to have customers look at this business and go, well, this must be a business I want to do business with, then it becomes across as kind of an influencer or as a sales technique. And when the people in the organization haven't had a real chance to participate in the creating of the core values, or worst case scenario, they just kind of remain on the wall as nice words, then they're not particularly effective. So when I do a culture training for an organization, the first thing I do is get everybody up in the top of the mind. For those of you who follow my life from the top of the mind philosophy, you know I go out and teach people how to access their best by accessing the upper 80% of the brain, a very specific part of the brain. And how to avoid the stress, frustration, anxiety, resentment that gets in the way of our bringing our best to life by avoiding a specific part of the brain. I call this Philosophy Life from the Top of the Mind. I've wrote a book about it, and I have the opportunity to go around the world teaching people my system. So the first thing I do is get them into that upper 80% of the brain, where they are choosing qualities and characteristics that represent the best of who they are, what they would recommend to someone they love. Then I ask them a question. Okay, what are the qualities and characteristics you want your organization or family to embrace? And people say great things when you ask them that question. That's what's called a top-of-the-mind question, a neocortex question. They say things like, well, integrity and patience and caring and fun and productivity and responsibility and being helpful and just all kinds of wonderful things. But the important thing is they are saying it. This isn't the leadership rolling out ideas to them. This is them saying, these are the qualities and characteristics we want our organization to embrace. There's a great quote from a famous trainer by the name of Bob Pike. He says, people don't argue with their own data. So when people say these are the qualities and characteristics we want, that's a more powerful beginning. But it is just a beginning. Because if those are just nice words that they put up on the wall, then they can easily be forgotten or certainly not be as impactful as the organization and or family wants them to be. So I say, okay, great stuff. Now, let's make sure we understand what behaviors bring these words to life. When people are being helpful, what are they doing? When they're being resourceful, what are they doing? When they're having high integrity, what are they doing? When they're working well with others, what are they doing? What does that look like? So people come up with behaviors like asking for help or offering help or smiling or listening or being a good team player, whatever it is. These are behaviors that bring the core values to life. It's called operationalizing the core values. Then I say, this is great. Boy, I would love to be in an organization that embraced these values and brought them to life through these behaviors. Then I say, you know, we've all been in organizations in the past where people did things we don't want in our organization. What do we not want in our organization? And they say things like, well, gossip and bad attitudes and being irresponsible and being negative and blaming others and micromanaging. Again, all great stuff, but because they're saying it, it's more powerful. Then what I do is I show them a slide of the leaders. I say, okay, here's Mary and John and Hank and Randy. Here are the qualities and characteristics they are committing to getting better at. Because it's one thing to say, I embrace this. It's another thing to say, I want to get better at this. What's my personal commitment to doing and or getting better at? And so each person, when I'm doing this seminar, has a card. And on the card it says, based on what I've learned today, here are the qualities and characteristics I'm committing to getting better at, say, over the next 2 to 3 months. Everybody fills out the card and signs it. Then some organizations have created something like this. Now, this is like a huge thing in a plant. This is a 24-hour plant up north of Cincinnati called JBM. Great folks, by the way. I did 3 shifts with everybody in the plant. But you can see over here, personal commitment. This is everyone's name and their personal commitment. Now you have a philosophy, a framework, a document really that goes way beyond just what are our core values. You have values that everyone has embraced and suggested. You have behaviors that bring those values to life. You have things that we don't want in our organization, and you've got a personal commitment from each person in that organization to get better at one or the other of these particular values. That's what makes core values important, because it takes what's important to us and operationalize it by making it a behavior. Gets really clear what it doesn't look like and makes a personal commitment to the process. If you would like me to come and do this with your organization or family, I do this with families as well, all you got to do is go to my website, billcrawfordphd.com, hit the contact button, let me know what you're interested in. Love to talk with you about that. In the meantime, here's to you, bringing more clarity about what's important to your organization and having everyone else have that clarity as well. More clarity, confidence, creativity to everything you do. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.